Hello and welcome to Spardha Lines, your one-stop destination for the civil services preparation, UPSC, KPSC and other relevant examinations. Today we have picked up a couple of important articles from the Hindu as well as Indian Express which are very significant from your UPSC and KPSC examination point of view. Let's get started and look into the first article. The first article is speaking about Nobel Prize. The Nobel Prizes are awarded every year on an annual basis. So the first important parameter that we have to understand is who gives this Nobel Prize, why is it being given, what are the categories for the Nobel Prize, how do you win a Nobel Prize, and what is given under the Nobel Prize. First important factor that we have to understand is who happens to be Nobel. Nobel happens to be a person. He was the person who was able to discover dynamite, and he has many other patents as well. So he was the person who discovered dynamite, and this dynamite was used for mining activities and it was also used for bombing activities as well. So this person felt that his legacy should be in the form of a positive outcome to the society. It should serve the humanity and it should not be something detrimental to the humanity. And as a result, he makes a will. This will says that all the richness that he has garnered for over a period of time, the same can be used for awarding those people who have been able to contribute to the humanity as well as the greater human cause. So what does he do? He comes up with number of scientific discoveries. Dynamite happens to be one of the discovery. This dynamite was also used for good as well as the bad purposes. He did not want to be remembered for the bad purposes. So all the money that he had garnered over his entire lifetime, he makes a will out of it, and it is this will which will take the money out of all his richness, and ultimately the money would be spent for those kind of people who are able to contribute scientifically for the greater glory of humanity. That is why we have the Nobel Prize which has come into the picture. When we look at the categories for the Nobel Prize, which are the categories that we have? We have Nobel Prize for Physics, Chemistry, Physiology and Medicine, Literature, Economics and Peace. Initially, we did not have economics which was covered under it, but over a period of time that was also covered as well. So the first Nobel Prize was presented back in the year 1901, 5 years after his death. In 1968, a sixth prize was created for economics by the Sweden Central Bank. As part of the assignment, you have to put on the comment section, there have been people who have been given Nobel Prizes twice. Who is this person who has been given the Nobel Prize twice is what you have to put on the comment section. Second important assignment is who was the first person from India who was given Nobel Prize. Who was the first person from India who was given Nobel Prize? Under what category? Is it physics? Is it chemistry? Is it literature? Under what category was it given? And is it awarded posthumously? Yes. If there is a person whose award has been already granted by the Nobel Committee and then he passes away, that is when it can be given posthumously. If the announcement is not made, then this particular award need not be given to that individual. So if this committee recognizes one of the person and then this person is alive while the name is given by this committee, that is when it can be posthumously given. That is when a person has passed away. If the name has not been declared by that particular committee, then that person need not be given the award. How do you win a Nobel Award? Nomination to most of the Nobel Awards is by invitation only, and by any person who meets the nomination criteria, by qualified persons only, and all these individuals will be given awards where by the Swedish Academy for the Literature, by the Norwegian Nobel Committee for Peace, by the Royal Swedish Academy at Sciences for Economics, the Nobel Assembly at Karolinska Institute for Medicine, and the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences for Chemistry, and the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences for the Physics. That is how we have the Nobel Prizes that are given. So remember, these Nobel Prizes are given for 6 categories and they are awarded every year. First award that will be given every year will be with respect to medicine, medical sciences and psychology. So this happens to be the first one. Followed by this, we have couple of other categories of Nobel Prizes. So as part of it, the first award that has been given goes to medicine, where Nobel 2023 goes to DO, who paved the way for the mRNA COVID vaccines. So for the discovery of the mRNA vaccines, what we have is Nobel Prize, which is given to Kathleen Carrico as well as Drew Weissman. These are the two individuals who have been given in the medicine as well as physiology category. We have to understand what is this concept of mRNA COVID vaccines. mRNA stands for messenger RNA. Let's understand this concept in greater detail. What happens when it comes to vaccine? When it comes to vaccine, what we have is a dead virus or an inactivated virus which is actually put into the vaccine, and this vaccine is ultimately given to an individual. So what we have is a dead entire virus or an inactivated virus. But then earlier what we had was this entire virus which had to be put into the structure. This was becoming a cumbersome process. Why? Because you require an entire virus. Over a period of time, a part of a genetic code was introduced into it. So the genetic code was introduced into the vaccine. This helped over a period of time, and with much better advances, what exactly happened? What you also was introduction of the mRNA. What is this mRNA? This happens to be the messenger RNA, which means to say that there will be an RNA which should be able to send the message to the body to create a protein structure. So in case there is any virus of this particular virus whose genetic structure has been taken, a protein would be created so that this protein is able to immediately activate and ultimately delete or eliminate the virus. So what was happening earlier? You had one deactivated virus, the entire deactivated virus, and an inactivated virus or a dead virus. So the minute there is a virus, there is already a structure that is created, and this used to understand that there is a virus which is entering our body and ultimately used to kill this particular virus. Over a period of time, this dead or inactivated virus structure was replaced with a part of the genetic code. The entire virus was replaced with part of a genetic code of the virus, and this genetic code was able to stop or prevent the virus and make sure that this particular virus was completely eliminated. And over a period of time, messenger was created. Messenger basically means that it will send a message, and as and when it sends a message, the body will start making a protein, and it is this protein which will ultimately delete a virus which is entering our body. So according to Nobel Prize website, Carrico and Weissman realized that the problem with the lab grown genetically engineered mRNA is that the body's dendritic cells, which have important functions in immune surveillance and the activation of the vaccine induced immune response. So what are these dendritic cells? They are the one which functions in the immune surveillance. They are the one which activate the immune cells, and they recognize them as a foreign substance and release inflammatory signaling molecules against them. Earlier, there was a lot of inflammation that used to happen whenever the vaccine was activated. But Carrico and Weissman knew that bases in RNA from mammalian cells are frequently chemically modified, while in vitro transcribed or lab created mRNA is not. So the earlier ones created a certain level of inflammation, but mRNA, which was messaging ones, did not create an inflammation. They wondered if the absence of altered bases in the in vitro transcribed RNA would explain the unwanted inflammatory reaction. To investigate this, they produced different variants of mRNA, each with unique chemical alterations in their bases, which they derived to dendritic cells. The results were striking. The inflammatory response were almost abolished when base modifications were included in the mRNA. So what were they awarded for? They were awarded for the mRNA vaccines. These mRNA vaccines are nothing but the messengers. They send a message to the body to create protein structure, and this protein structure will ultimately eliminate the virus, and this is acting as creating immunity or immune response to the body. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says a 36% EBC's largest group in Bihar shows caste study. This article here is speaking about the caste study or the OBC study. First, what we have to understand is the concept of what is this caste census. The caste census is a census where it gives you an enumeration or the numbers of number of people of a specific caste in a particular state. Let's say, for example, we have the so-called the upper caste, we have certain other caste divided on the basis of their historical precedents. They have been performing a particular kind of job role, and that particular job role may have assigned a caste to that particular people in that society. So who are the people who are of specific caste? How many people of this caste are present in the state is what is called as caste census. Let's say, for example, we have caste A, we have caste B, we have caste C. So in the caste A, how many people are present? In what region are they present? In that particular district, what is their numbers, and what would be their numbers in the entire state? So this identification of numbers is what is called as the caste census. So in caste census, we have all kinds of castes that are taken into the picture. As of now, we do not have the caste census. Why? That is because when we look into the present form of census, it is only the SC and the ST communities numbers which are taken, but other OBCs numbers are not taken. The last time we have had the caste census was back in the year 1931. So remember, this can be very, very important from your preliminary examination point of view. The last time we have had the entire caste census, even with respect to the OBC, was in the year 1931, but then in 2011 changes were made. They did look at some aspects as well, but then declaration or the numbers that were with respect to the caste census of all OBCs were not given in 2011. So the numbers that we are using right now is one that of 1931, and the Mandal Commission that was appointed in the 1990s also came up with a report, and the OBC reservation is still on the basis of the 1931 census. So the last time we have had caste census with respect to the OBCs and other castes is 1931. As of now, we have census that takes place. This census also takes into picture the SC/ST community numbers, but not the OBCs. So in the first time, we have what we have is a caste census that has been undertaken by one of the states in the state of Bihar. So what does this caste census basically say? This caste census goes on to categorize into couple of groups: other backward classes, extremely backward classes, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and the unreserved. When it comes to other backward classes or the OBC, the share in the population is 27.13%, population is 3.55. When it comes to the other backward classes, it is about 4.71 crores population. When it comes to scheduled caste, it is about 19.65%. When it comes to scheduled tribe, it is 1.68%, and when it comes to unreserved, it is about 15.2%. These are the numbers when it comes to the caste census. So the caste census clearly identify and help us know that these are the people who are present in that particular locality. So the share of the OBC population in Bihar is about so and so is what this particular number defines. So this is what we have to understand. So it means that when you look at the numbers and the categories in the state of Bihar, we have the backward classes. So the Yadav community, the Kushwaha community, the Kurmi community, the Bania community are the backward classes. Then you have extremely backward classes: Kevat, Malla, Teli, Nai, Danuk are some of the extreme backward classes. Then you have the scheduled caste, which includes the Chamar, the Dusand, the Mushawar, the Pasi, and the Mehetar, and the unreserved category, which includes the Kayastha, the Bhumihar, the Rajput, and the Brahmin community. And this is the proportion of their population when it comes to the caste census in the state of Bihar. Now the question is, what is the importance of the caste census? And we will also look at what are the issues with respect to the caste census. We have caste census that is currently undertaken in the state of Bihar. Now many other political parties also want caste census to be organized and then committed in couple of other states in India as well. They are also asking the government of India to undertake another exercise for the entire country. Now the question is, what are the advantages of the caste census? Why caste census is a necessity? We will also look at arguments which says that caste census should not be undertaken at all. First, let's look at arguments which says that yes, caste census should be undertaken, and there are advantages that are into picture. For example, the last time that we have the OBC criterion, and when we have the OBC, we have the reservation of about 27%. So we have a certain section of people and a certain caste which are added into this group of OBCs, that is the other backward classes. Over a period of time, the last time this exercise took place was in 1990, which means to say that we have 27% reservation for the OBCs. What if in a particular state the number of OBCs have increased over a period of time, their representation is not given in the government as well as in the legislative wing? When it comes to India, the social society, the societal picture is what matters apart from merit. That is why what we have is the concept of reservation, which is an affirmative action. Because of the historical injustice or grave committal of certain errors, what we have is reservation as a part of affirmative action. Now, if the OBCs have increased over a period of time, we need to know if they have to be given a certain section of reservation. How do we know about it? Through the caste census. And over a period of time, some groups or some OBC categories or some caste might have developed far in excess, and some groups might not have developed. They might have further become marginalized as well. How do we add, how do we delete a certain groups from a separate subcategorization? For which what we require is the caste census. So over a period of time, some castes may have managed to pull themselves out of poverty and from the marginalization. So let's delete them from this particular subcategorization, add them to the advanced level of 3A or 3B or whatsoever, or in case they have become marginalized, let's empower them, add them under the subcategorization like 1A, 1B, so on and so forth. So for the well advanced within the OBCs, let's add them into the higher bracket. If they have become marginalized over a period of time, let's add them under the lower rung of the extremely backward classes. How do we identify it? Through the census that we conduct in that particular state. Added to it, there are a couple of Supreme Court judgments as well as the High Court judgments which is seeking for the quantifiable data. What is this quantifiable data? Let me take you to the state of Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu currently provides a reservation of about 69%. This is a breach of what is called as the Indra Savni judgment. The Indra Savni judgment currently goes on to say that we should not be providing reservation in excess of 50%. 50% is the reservation that we have to provide, which includes the OBC, the SC and the ST community. Within that, OBC has a reservation of about 27%. The rest will be 15% for the SC, the other 7.5% will be the STs. So this entire reservation should not cross 50%. But then Tamil Nadu has given 69%. How? That is because they have the quantifiable data. The data which clearly depicts and shows that these many people are from the backward classes. They have had historical injustice. So they needs to be provided what is called as a reservation and an affirmative action. So how do we get this quantifiable data? Through the census. So perform this census so that you have the quantifiable data, so that all sections of the society are represented in the government as well as the legislative wing as well as in the policy making. So states require quantifiable data. This has been taken up by the Supreme Court. This has been taken up by a couple of high courts as well, and we recently have the Supreme Court of India in the Marathwada reservation in the state of Maharashtra also sought for the quantifiable data. In 2006, in the Nagraj case, again the Supreme Court asked for the quantifiable data. So how do we get this quantifiable data? That is when a caste census will have to be conducted. So caste census is a necessity. Why? Because we require the quantifiable data, and that happens to be an advantage and the need for the caste census. Then we have couple of states where the major dominant community are also seeking for the reservation. We have the Gujars, we also have the Jats, we have the Patidars, we also have the Vaniyas from Tamil Nadu, the Patidars from the state of Gujarat, the Jats from the Haryana. These are the people who are also asking for the reservation. Why? They say that historically they might have been the land owning community. They might have held large swathes of land, but today they do not have the large swathes of land. So historically they might have been a dominant community, but as time changes, they might have become marginalized, or their community numbers might have crunched, or they could have become impoverished over a period of time, or their numbers have actually dropped. So they require the representation as per the date and time. So how do we know about it? That is through the caste census. And when we have these marginalized numbers, the government will pick up the data and will also provide certain reservation. They will also provide economic advantages, and this can be used for a data and policy making as well. So how will I give a certain section of the community members or a caste members a certain level of advantages? What are the policy making initiatives, welfare schemes and programs? How do I uplift men? How do I uplift them? All that will happen only through the data, and that data will be given by the caste census. So the caste census is the necessity because it will empower the marginalized, it will give us the quantifiable data, it will power all the so-called communities to get the reservation, and it will also help in the policy making. However, there are a couple of challenges also with respect to the census as well, and that is with respect to the voter mobilization. What happens? A particular society will have a certain section of people as well. So this section of people might be dominant in that particular caste. For example, in a district there will be a specific caste, and it is this caste which might be a dominant caste in that district. So what do the politicians do? They concentrate and appease only this specific caste and ignore the other section of the society, ignore the other caste in that particular districts as well, and they also want to conquer. So when it comes to the British, what were they doing? They were dividing the people on the basis of so-called upper caste and the so-called lower caste. They had data to divide and conquer India in the present situation. Because of the caste based census that we have, there will be preference that will be given to a specific caste, other castes will be completely ignored. They will also divide and rule on the basis of caste. They know that their arithmetics is on the basis of such and such category, and ultimately they can appreciate or they can also ignore a specific caste as well, and this becomes a major problem for a country where large number of diversified castes are present. So how are we going to overcome? We should not have the caste basis. So we should not have the caste census as well. So these are some of the advantages. These are some of the disadvantages. What is your opinion? What is your call? Please put it on the comment section. Is this caste census necessary? Should it be undertaken in all states across the length and breadth of India? Is what you have to put on the comment section. Now let's look into the next article. This article here says High Court rules against quota in the minority institutions. Let us try and understand what is this article, which is very important from your GS paper to polity. We have couple of important articles in the Indian Constitution which gives the rights to the minorities. That is Article 29 and Article 30. We have Article 30 which awards right of minorities to establish and administer educational institutions. So what is the emphasis here? That we have the minorities. The minorities can be the religious minorities, and it can also be linguistic minorities as well. Who are the religious minorities? Let's say for example at the all India level we have the Muslims, we also have the Christians, we also have the Buddhists, we also have, let's say, the Jains. Which are the other religious minority? Please put it on the comment section. So these are the religious minorities. Apart from that, we also have linguistic minorities as well. Who are the linguistic minorities? Let's say for example in that specific region, let's say for example in the state of Karnataka or in the state of Andhra Pradesh or in the state of Maharashtra, there are few groups or few section of the people whose language that they speak are in very less numbers. So right of minorities basically means religious minorities as well as linguistic minorities, because the language they speak is comparatively in a minority in that region. For example, in Andhra Pradesh, the large number of people speak Telugu. What if there is a person from an Assamese community or there is a Kashmiri who speaks Kashmiri language in the state of Andhra Pradesh? These are the linguistic minorities. They are provided a certain level of reservation, or they are given the right to establish and administer educational institutions. So what does it say? All minorities, whether based on religion or language, shall have the right to establish and administer educational institutions. The state shall not discriminate in granting aid to educational institutions against any educational institution on the ground that it is under the management of a minority, whether based on religion or language. Now the question before the High Court of Madras High Court was, there is a minority run institutions, that is, it can be a religious minority or a linguistic minority. So the administration is created, there is a trust that is created, and this particular institution happens to be a minority institution run by a person or a trust who happens to be from a minority community, religious or linguistic. Should reserve OBC reservation, SC/ST reservation be given in this particular educational institution or in this particular college. So the High Court has currently clarified that if it is a minority institutions, whether aided or unaided, if there is reservation that has to be given in normal college, let's say for example it is a private or a government college, even if it is private, reservation for the OBCs as well as the SC/ST community. But in what is being clarified by the Madras High Court, they have said that if it is a minority college which has a tag of a minority college, in that case they not necessarily will have to give reservation for the OBCs as well as for the SC/ST community because it is a minority college. So the Madras High Court has ruled that educational institutions run by religious and linguistic minorities need not follow the rule of reservation with respect to the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes and other backward classes. The court also held that the government cannot compel such institutions to provide reservation to such candidates. So basically it has gone on to clarify that if there is an institution, this institution which has got the minority tag cannot be forced by the state to provide the reservation. So even if they receive funds from the state governments, they need not have to provide reservation for the OBC as well as for the SC/ST community. So the article in this case has gone on to clarify that they need not have to give reservation to the OBC as well as for the other classes. And at the same time, what did the Madras High Court say? The Madras High Court looked into a couple of judgments. One happens to be Pramati Educational and Cultural Trust versus Union of India and also Ashok Kumar Thakur versus the Union of India. Under these two judgments, Right to Education Act did not apply to the minority institutions and that Article 15 of 5 was not violative of Article 14 of the Constitution. So is Article 15 of 5 violative of Article 14? No, says the Madras High Court as well as the precedent set by the Supreme Court. When it comes to right to education, reservation need not be provided by the minority institutions. The same has been taken in this particular case that if it is an institution run by the minority trust or an individual, you need not have to give reservation to the OBC and the SC/ST. Why? Because it is not violating Article 14, because an exemption has been given, an intelligible differentia has been created. What is this intelligible differentia? When it comes to Article 14, there are certain groups which are not equal to the present ones. So a separate class is created. For example, women are a separate class, children are a separate class, SCs are a separate class. So we are categorizing the people. Similarly, when a minority institution is created, a separate class is created. So it is not violative of discrimination. And in TMA Pai Foundation and others versus state of Karnataka and others, and PA Inamdar and others versus the state of Maharashtra, these judgments also pointed out that unaided minority undergraduate college enjoys more freedom in relation to the admission. So they have more freedom when it comes to the admission because they are minority run institutions, and as a result it has gone on to clarify that if it is a minority institution, religious or linguistic, they need not have to give reservation to the OBCs as well as the SC/ST community. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says adaptations of the scriptures entitled to the copyright protection. What is this article all about? Recently there was a petition that was filed before the Delhi High Court. The Delhi High Court went on to say the plaint was filed, and the plaintiff goes on to say that there have been large number of changes that have been introduced by this institution of ISKCON. What happens when it comes to scriptures? Let's say for example we have Bhagavad Gita or we have Ramayana. If a person is reproducing a copy of Bhagavad Gita or Ramayana as it is, wording to wording as it is, then it is not a subject matter of copyright. What if the person has given an interpretation to it? What added more value to it? What if the person has given real-time instances and has brought an interpretation to it? In all those cases where new additions and value additions have been added, that could be a matter of subject matter of copyright. So copyright protection can be given to such scriptures. So generally if we are speaking about Bhagavad Gita or with respect to Ramayana or any other holy scriptures, if you are reproducing the same copy as it is originally given in that scripture, that is not a subject subject matter of copyright. However, if additions have been made, value addition has been made, interpretations have been made, in that case, if interpretation has been devised, in those interpretations it can be a subject matter of copyright, or there is a music that is created out of it, a movie that is created out of this particular scripture, that is a subject matter of copyright. So the Delhi High Court has said there can be no doubt that Srimad Bhagavad Gita is one of the revered ancient scriptures in the world. The Bhagavad Gita, along with other scriptures like Bhagavatam, which are written about by the author, are all public domain works. There can be no copyright claim in these scriptures. We did just discuss. However, any adaptations of the said work, including providing explanation, summary, meaning, exigencies, interpretation, or creating any audiovisual work, for example television series like Ramananda Sagar's Ramayana or Bihar Chopra's Mahabharat, dramatic work created by dramatic societies based on these scriptures being transformative, they are all subject to copyright. Thus, the court opined that there could be no objection in the actual reproduction of the text of the Sri Bhagavad Gita or similarly other spiritual books. However, the manner in which the same was interpreted by different gurus and spiritual leaders being varied in nature, copyright would vest in the respect of original parts of the literary works which preach, teach, or explain the scripture. The additional part that they have given, their own interpretation, their value addition, is subject matter of copyright, but rest of it, the original copy, is not a subject matter of copyright. So the High Court has said that injunction would be given for the plaintiff who failed his plaint, and all those who are reproducing it, manufacturing, creating more copies, or even putting out Instagram reels, such should be avoided, says this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says capturing the range. What is this article speaking about? The article here is speaking about the climate change manifestations. There are increasing cases of droughts and there are increasing cases of flash floods as well. Where did we see the flash floods? We saw it in Uttarakhand. We also saw it in Himachal Pradesh. What are the reasons of these flash floods and what are the reasons of this heavy rainfall and flood-like situations in these two states? We did discuss in our daily current affairs discussion earlier as well. One was with respect to the western disturbances. The western disturbances are the disturbances that takes place in the Mediterranean region. Then you have the winds that take over the moisture, and ultimately you have rainfall in the Indian subcontinent. One is because of the western disturbance and the other is because of the flash floods as well. All this could be a result of the anthropogenic induced factors. So what we have is a flood-like condition in couple of states in India, and at the same time what we currently have is drought-like conditions as well. These drought-like conditions are created, why? Because the southwest monsoon has dropped. Ideally it should have been, the normal should be about 89 centimeter, but currently we have a rainfall of about 82 centimeter, which means we have a drought-like conditions. And even in the state of Karnataka we have as many as 62 districts which have seen a depreciation of the rainfall as well. What is it because? It is because of the anthropogenic induced factors. Since we are witnessing a climate related changes that we have, this article currently goes on to say we need to invest on the technology front. We need to ensure that more investment and expertise is present so that we are able to understand how these important things work and ultimately have measures in advance to it. Currently we have also had some kind of misunderstanding between the state of Karnataka as well as Tamil Nadu. There was bandh that was also created in the state of Karnataka. Why? Because the southwest monsoons currently, which are supposed to bring rainfall and ultimately fill the river Kaveri is not there, and as a result there is drop of the water, there is deficit of the water, which is why Karnataka is not able to release water to the state of Tamil Nadu, because there is crunch of water for the state of Karnataka. All this is because of the climate change manifestation and the anthropogenic factors. So the spatial and temporal variance of the monsoon reiterates that we have to invest more on the resilient infrastructure that can be an all-weather insurance against the increasingly unpredictable vagaries of the global climate. So because there are large-scale global vagaries, we have to invest on the technological front so that we can actually predict and understand and also overcome these issues, is what is this article all about. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about Astra 2 missile. The Astra 2 missile happens to be developed by the DRDO, first important pointer from the preliminary examination point of view, and this also happens to be a beyond visual range missile. What is this beyond visual range missile? Let me give you a layman explanation. I can see you, you can see me. So we are able to see each other, or you are able to see something that is about 500 meters away from you. You are able to see that. But what if I'm not able to see that? That is beyond my visual range. If I'm able to see something that is within my visual range, what if I'm not able to see something that happens to be beyond visual range? So if there is a missile which is fired, let's say for example we have Astra. What is Astra? It happens to be an air-to-air missile. So it happens to be an air-to-air beyond visual range missile. So there is a pilot, there is a person who has been there is a soldier, he's running one of the aircrafts, and this particular jet that he has, it has Astra attached to it. So he immediately dispatches this Astra, which happens to be an air-to-air missile. If we can see that there is an enemy jet that is coming, that is called as visual range. He is able to see it. But what if it is about 30 kilometers away? There is an enemy jet that is coming which is beyond his visual range, which is about 30 kilometers away from him. If he is able to dispense with this, if he is able to let go this Astra even beyond his visual range, that is what is called as beyond visual range missile. So a beyond visual range missile is an air-to-air missile that is capable of engaging at ranges of 37 kilometers or beyond, and at the same time this technology enables fighter pilots to shoot precisely at the enemy targets which are beyond their visual range. So when it comes to Astra, we have Astra 1. What we are currently discussing is Astra 2, and then we will also have Astra Mark 3 as well. So the Astra 2 missile is said to have a range of 160 km, and when it comes to Astra 1, it has a range of about 80 km to 100 km. But when it comes to Astra 3, it has a distance, it can cover a range of about 350 km. So the first major difference is with respect to the range. When it comes to the physical differences between Astra 1 and 2, they are not much, and Astra 2 missile is known to have a dual pulse solid rocket motor, giving it a longer range. This is another difference. The Astra Mark 3, which is also being developed by DRDO and whose prototype will be out soon, will have a newly developed solid fuel ducted ramjet technology with a range of 530 technology. This happens to be a major difference between Astra 1, Astra 2 and Astra 3. So what are the advantages? One, we will have more air-to-air missiles in our kitty. So we would be able to dismantle the enemy missile. That happens to be the first one. So what we will have is a much advanced defense. Second is with respect to the technology as well as the imports. We were importing a lot of equipments from the foreign. So what we are now saving is on this equipments that are being imported and the missiles being imported from the foreign. So we are saving on our foreign reserves as well. And third happens to be there are only few countries like United States of America, Russia, few European countries as well as China which has mastered this beyond visual range missile, and India happens to enter this elite club as well. So what we will be able to do, we would be able to dispatch the enemy, and as a result we will have technologically and economically superiority, and we will also have much better advanced defense measures. These are some of the advantages with respect to this beyond visual range Astra that we are speaking of. This happens to be a air-to-air missile, and as part of the assignment you have to put on the comment section, we have air-to-ground missile, we have ground-to-air missile, that is surface-to-air missile, we also have air-to-surface missile. Which are these examples? Please put it on the comment section. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about one of the vaccines. This vaccine happens to be R21 or Matrix M malaria vaccine. So if you have a question, what is R21 or Matrix M vaccine? Remember, this happens to be a vaccine that is developed by the University of Oxford and the Serum Institute of India, leveraging Novavax adjuvant technology, which was recommended by World Health Organization, and this is to fight malaria. So the R21 as well as Matrix M has been developed by the University of Oxford and Serum Institute for what? For fighting of malaria. What are the key features of it? High efficacy when given just before the high transmission season. It has good efficacy when given in age-based module, and it has high impact as well. It is cost effective as well. It has similarity with RTSS vaccine. So the RTSS vaccine are that which can also be given to the malaria, and the R21 vaccine was shown to be safe in the clinical trials. So because of it, these vaccines are safer, and they also have the efficient mechanism as well. So let's give it to malaria to prevent the malaria is what is this article all about. But from the preliminary examination point of view, remember this Matrix M or R21 is a vaccine that has been developed for malaria, and similarly we also have RTS, which is a vaccine that is developed for malaria. Now let's look into the next article. This article says counting deaths in India's prisons. Let me give you a gist of what this article is all about. We have prison. What are prisons? Jails. When it comes to jails, there are violations of human rights. When it comes to jails, there are custodial deaths that takes place. So what we have is two types of deaths. One is what is called as natural death. The other is what is called as unnatural death. What is natural death? This happens because of illness, or it can be because of the age factor, or it can be because of heart attack, so on and so forth. So a natural death basically means that a person passes away in jail or in the prison primarily because of the age related ailment, or because a person is suffering from some illness, so on and so forth. So aging and illness account for the natural death. Then what we have is the unnatural death. What is this unnatural death? This can be custodial death, where the police officers have committed police excesses, or they have had custodial death, or there can be death because there is another person in the prison. They have fought against each other, so they fight against each other and ultimately one person kills another person, or it can also be because of suicides as well. It can also be death due to the inmates as well. So when all these deaths that occur because of the suicides, or due to inmates assault by outside elements, or due to the natural calamities, that is what is called as the natural death. So if we look into the numbers, every year prison deaths are identified as natural and unnatural. In 2021, a total of 2,116 prisoners died in judicial custody, with almost 90% of the cases recorded as natural death. So it is in this particular backdrop, the article goes on to say that there have been also unnatural deaths that have been taking place as well, and that is the reason for worry. So what is the issue? When it comes to natural and unnatural death, what is this unnatural death is also unclear according to Justice M.B. Lokur. How? Let's say for example, there is a person who is suffering from some health related ailments. So had this person been given health related protection, or he was appointed to the hospital on time, he was taken due care by the prisoners, by the prison authorities, then this person could have been saved. But at the right time he was not provided the medical support. Because he was not provided medical support, this has also led to the natural death as well. Ideally this should have been unnatural death. Why? Because there has been negligence that has been given by these authorities. They were supposed to have provided the infrastructure and the doctors at the right time. Because they didn't do so, there is medical negligence. This medical negligence has led to natural death. Ideally it should have been unnatural death because of the medical negligence. So what is the distinction that is being made with respect to the natural and unnatural is the first major concern. When it comes to the prison deaths, there are also prison deaths which are unreported. For example, custodial deaths, or for example inmates fighting against each other, or for example medical negligence as we just discussed. These kind of reports or these kind of deaths are underreported, which is also categorized as natural death. And during the pandemic we had large number of people, that is they were under trials as well. There were also people who were still going through it, that is they were yet not convicted but they were just present in that particular jail. The number of people who are also present in the jail is far in excess to the capacity. Let's say the capacity is to accommodate about 100 individuals in that particular jail, but there have been 150 people in that particular jail. jail, there have been 250 in that particular jail. It means more number of people are present, which means there is no necessary infrastructure. They would not be able to sleep as well. There will be insomnia in couple of jailmates, and as a result they are completely neglected. They do not have the required infrastructure, and they go through the psychological trauma, and as they go to the psychological trauma, they also commit suicides as well. The infrastructure deficiencies are both a cause and effect of carelessness and neglect of the health of the individuals in the jail custody, and as a result there have been ample number of examples where they have also committed suicides as well. So this article currently goes on to say that whenever such deaths occur in the deaths occur in the jails, how is the investigation made? Since 1993, the NCRB is required to intimate a custodial death within 24 hours. Further, if an inquiry by the commission into custodial death discloses negligence by a public servant, the commission recommends authorities of the central to pay compensation to the next kin. The same response noted that one disciplinary action has been taken if it is with respect to the public servant not working efficiently. In cases of custodial rape and death, the Code of Criminal also requires compulsory judicial magisterial inquiry in place of executive magisterial inquiry. So it means that whenever there is a death, what they have to do is immediately within 24 hours conduct a post-mortem report, conduct a magisterial inquest report or videography report as well, and ultimately give it to the National Human Rights Commission. If it is a custodial death or rape that has taken place within the premises of the jail, then executive magistrate. Who are the executive magistrates? It can involve the IAS or it can be the high level IPS officers as well. These will not investigate, but instead it is the judicial magistrate who will inquire what is the root cause of it. So whenever a death happens, all these reports will have to be given. What are the measures that have been taken? The Model Prison Manual of 2016 and Mental Health Care of 2019 outline inmates' right to healthcare, which includes adequate investment in healthcare facilities, setting up mental health units, training officers to providing basic and emergency care, and formulating suicide prevention programs to thwart such instances. Another recommendation is to allow inmates have adequate number of telephones so that they are able to speak up to their near and dear ones and also have a personal connect as well. Authorities in few cases have denied the literature where they would be able to read and come out of the suicidal tendencies and to prevent suicides. Specifically, guidelines recommend a strict check on the tools such as ropes, glasses, wooden ladders, pipes, initial mental health screening at the time of entry into jail, installing CCTV cameras to monitor high risk inmates. These are the measures that have been taken to overcome suicides as well as unnatural deaths. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about cholera. Cholera happens to be a waterborne disease, and it is caused by two strains called as O1 and O139 of the bacteria Vibrio cholerae. So this happens to be a waterborne disease, and the bacteria happens to be Vibrio cholerae, and there are two types. One happens to O1 and the other one happens to O129. So we have these cases that are present. Kindly look through the statistics given in this article. You can use this as the fodder in your answer writing. So if you are liking these initiatives, please do like, share it with your fellow aspirants, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.